I'm going to show you how to get rid of brain fog once and for all. This is a very practical video, and there are some instant fixes as well as some stuff that's going to take a few hours of work. But if you stick to it, I guarantee you will think more clearly, you'll make more money, and you'll feel better. Brain fog is a very common but nebulous complaint, and actually if you could think clearer, you would no longer feel like your life is walking through treacle. From Bhagavati, quiet the mind and the soul will speak. We know intuitively that this is true. When your mind is quiet, your mood improves, your relationships improve, your capacity for work and productivity improve, your earning potential, and a deeper intelligence takes over when we're able to get ourselves and our little kind of neurotic voice out of the way. Our brains are the rate limiting step for our output, and I know that when I let these things slip, my clarity and my mood starts to drop. I'm actually making this video for myself as a reminder to watch back on, because a lot of the recommendations I'm going to cover are sort of creeping vampires, and it's very easy for you to forget about them, and then before you know it, they've tanked your clarity and your focus. But you have to actually do the stuff. So I really implore you, pause the video, take some notes, make sure that you're actually doing it. Don't just watch it and be like, that's nice. It's not going to get you anywhere. My guarantee is that if you actually do this stuff, you will be clearer, happier, and more productive. Let's define the problem and use the analogy of the mind as a computer. It's not perfect, but just bear with me. It's a computer that you've not been taking very good care of. And so there's a bunch of gunk and like chocolate under the keyboard, and it's getting into the fan. And not only that, you've got too many tabs open. Our brains are ancient, and they've been designed for a certain level of information flow. The internet has grown geometrically, and so is the demands on us as people to process far more information and connections and emotional load and admin burden that we've ever been used to in the past. We're not wired to handle this level of stimulation. I've had patients come to me who work in complaint handling call centres, and they're just getting shouted at for 8 hours on the phone as their job, and they're presenting with anxiety and depression. Of course, this is what we expect, because your mind is the sum of all the experiences that you have. We know this is true, and we know that we're not really taking good care of our computers, and we can't just go out and buy a new one, but luckily we can clean the hardware and we can update the firmware and the software, and that's what I'm going to go through with you. I'm sure you've heard the Zen quote that the mind makes a great servant but a terrible master. Michael Singer talks about if your mind and the stuff that it says was actually another person that was hanging around with you, you wouldn't hang around with them very long. And they were always saying things like, your hair looks shit today. Oh, you're running late again. Remember that time 3 years ago in the restaurant when the waiter said, enjoy your meal, and you said, thanks, you too. And then you were like, oh, and then you got up and you tripped on the way to the toilet and everyone laughed at you. Yeah, remember that? You wouldn't hang around with that person very long. It's possible, if you have a good relationship with your mind, to turn it from this abusive, tyrant, terrible mate into a friendly secretary that does what you ask it to. So how do we deal with this stuff? Well, I'm going to probably make some tech people throw up with my analogies here, but this is just for illustration. So let's go from hardware to software. You've got hardware, so the hard drive, your fan, your screen, all of that kind of stuff, basically taking care of your body. The Cartesian model of medicine makes a distinction between mind and body, but really they're one and the same thing. One influences the other, and remember, your mind is housed in your body, so you need to take care of it. Then you've got the firmware, which is how your hardware interacts with your software. This is your desires, your instincts, your habits. And then finally we've got software. This is your physical and digital space, your emotional space, your thinking tools, your mental models, your feeling tools, and then the information that you consume, as well as the way that you manage your tasks and your day-to-day activities. I'm going to detail the process that goes through cleaning your hardware and updating your firmware and your software. So the first thing, your hardware. Are you doing the basics? Make sure you address any deficiencies. Are you sleeping? Are you training? Are you unwell? Are you in pain? Do you have a restrictive diet? Sort that stuff out first, and have a look at our video called Burning a Clean Flame, which goes through all this stuff in detail. This is you defragging the hard drive, cleaning the screen, getting that compressed air and blowing out all the bits of melted chocolate from under your keyboard, and that alone is going to be a massive upgrade. The key points about burning a clean flame are start lifting some weights, start meditating, get your sleep in order, get some sun, sort out your diet. I wish there was a magical supplement or nootropic that I could recommend and it would just solve all these problems. But that's just magical thinking. And I honestly don't think that modern medicine is ever going to get something which matches the benefits of burning a clean flame. Next, we have the firmware. So this is how your hardware interacts with your software and your outside world, your instincts, your behaviors, and your habits. Now, this is a bit unconventional, but I like to combine the outside-in approach with the inside-out approach. And what I mean by that is this. So Sally Hogshead says, willpower can change our actions, but not our fascinations. Self-discipline is a short-term solution to a long-term problem. Mark Douglas says, needing courage, nerves of steel, or self-control would imply an internal conflict where one force is being used to counteract the effects of another. If you're not afraid, you don't need courage. If you're not stressed, why would you need nerves of steel? Morty Lefko says, wouldn't it be easier to eliminate the need for self-discipline rather than to struggle to discipline yourself to act against your beliefs and your conditionings? Hopefully you're seeing a pattern here. Shinzen Young says we seem to be pulled into the same grooves despite our attempts to be different, despite the fact that our surface consciousness might be trying to move in that direction. We can't ignore our programming, but what can we do about it? Well, the chimp paradox talks about the mind being like battling a chimp inside of us, and that is our survival programming. The chimp is more impulsive and stronger than us, so it's figuring out ways to appease the chimp, but not to allow it to just run the ship. Our programming runs deep, but it's also powerful and we can't just fight against it. So we need to find a way that we can align our programming with our desired outcomes. When you see greyhounds racing, do you think you could make cats do that? No, not at all. Is that because greyhounds are more disciplined than cats? It's not, it's just that they're driven by a different instinct. Similarly, why are you not obese? It's not because you have superior willpower. If you ate as much as you wanted, you probably might gain a bit of weight, but you wouldn't end up at 200 kilograms. So what's the difference here? It's because we're running on different programming. The lack of acceptance of this is the reason that people don't have compassion for people who are obese or driven to do compulsions that we don't have ourselves. The big health challenges that we face in the UK, we're a developed country, we're not dealing with typhoid and these kind of infectious diseases and trauma and stuff as much. It's more chronic diseases of ischemic heart disease, liver disease, diabetes, obesity, that kind of thing. These are all highly related to something called the ACE index, Adverse Childhood Experience Score. It's frightening actually, because it's questions like, as a child, did you ever see your dad hit your mum? Were you ever touched inappropriately by a relative? Did you ever go hungry home? And all these like really horrible childhood experiences. And the score that you get for that is so tightly related to rates of COPD and liver disease and obesity that it's a losing battle. Like, it's someone who's had those experiences has to have an overwhelming force to get back on top of things. Why do you go to bed every night? It's not because it requires willpower, but you're just driven to do it. We're programmed that way. Practically, there are a lot of ways to reprogram ourselves, and the method that you choose kind of depends on your temperament, but they all involve digging deep and unpicking some gristly, painful stuff deep within ourselves. Some starting points would be psychotherapy, meditation, internal work, yoga, journaling, extended breath work, visualization, and self-programming methods. I'll also point you to my preferences and personal recommendations in the description below, which are Sedona method, lying relaxation, and stretching practice via Kit Lachlan. And a lot of them are laid out on this channel or in our members area for free. The point is that you can change your natural instincts, and when you do, the old programs fall away like burnt rope. They retain their shape, but as soon as they're challenged, they crumble. If you can nail the instinctive, emotional side of it and the practical, James Clear habit optimization side of it, then you become unstoppable. You've aligned your instincts with your desired outcome. Next, onto the software. So David Allen, the pioneer of modern productivity, says, "The mind is great for having ideas, but not for holding them." And that quote is slowly sinking in, that your daily task management isn't just a way to get things done at the surface level. It impacts how quiet your mind is at a resting state. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, but if you have lots of open loops of things that you need to be doing and you're not fully at peace with what you're not doing right now, your mind is going to be just buzzing in the background, and you'll never be able to fully focus on what you're doing, never be able to be present with loved ones. So here's the solution. Start by clearing out your physical and your digital space. Most people's desktop looks like this, and most people's inbox looks quite similar. Begin by giving this 2 hours of time to sort through your desktop, delete, process, schedule, delegate, or follow up. Don't use your email inbox or your desktop like a to-do list. That's lazy and you're not putting things in the right place for when you actually need them.
Having a task which is clear inbox is dangerous, because what you're committing to there is a boundless thing that by definition has no end. Because if you spend 5 hours clearing your inbox, like how many times over the past week for a 5-hour stretch have you not had a single email come in?
Never.
Well, yeah.
It makes me feel like such a little dick.
Like, just send it where the other things of that nature belong, which is, if it is a task, treat it like that and give it the appropriate, like, let the other tasks have a shot. Don't just let the one that someone else sent you override your day. And it also means you get the satisfaction of, like, because then clearing your inbox, you can actually clear your inbox. So you can delete things, you can defer them, you can file them, or you can set that's a next action that goes to tasks. Delete, and then you've actually cleared your inbox in 10 minutes.
Next, spend 2 hours clearing your physical space, starting with your desk. Tidy desk means a tidy mind, and I've got a full video on that here. That wasn't a fart, by the way, that was my chair, which goes through the full desk setup, including farty chair actually. For less than £500, you can have a completely peaceful desk setup. As part of this, you might need to do a total house clear out. Get a professional cleaner to help you with this. It's 100% worth the 40 quid. Okay, so you've cleared your physical space. Now it's time to start moving inwards and clearing your internal space. And I would start by doing a 30 to 60 minute brain dump. You can either do this as a free-flowing thing, or you can use the David Allen framework to really squeeze the lemon of all of the open loops in the kind of dusty corners of your mind. Next, look at your information diet. I've got a really radical prospect for you here, but imagine if you only ate things that you chose to eat. I know, crazy. If we only put things in our mouth that we actually wanted to. We're not doing that with our minds. We are indiscriminately taking in all sorts of rubbish. There's a few ways to tackle this. You can either go total information blackout, or you can say, I'm only going to consume information that I have placed value on. So only stuff that I have paid more than £100 for, or stuff that I have actively subscribed to. Remember, we have a challenge for this channel, which is if you subscribe to the channel and you go through the videos over 12 weeks, you will upgrade your life across multiple domains. But the other way to make sure that you stay on track is to get Chrome extensions or cold turkey for Mac to just block out anything that isn't aligned with where you want to get to. As part of that, align and surround yourself with people who are engaged with the same goal and tune out the bullshit. So get rid of TV, block mental pollution from your newsfeed, anything that doesn't help you achieve your goal. Tune into a community that supports your goal, and we have a number of group programs for that purpose. And as I say, get Chrome extensions or software to block any push media, things like news feeds or anything that's distracting that you would just instinctively go to scroll. I would also recommend trialing stopping TV and just see how you feel after a month. Terence McKenna says, television is a drug. It has a series of measurable physiological parameters that are intrinsically its signature, as the parameters of heroin are its signature. Sit someone down in front of a television, 20 minutes later you come back, sample their blood pressure, their eye movement rate, blood is pooling in their rear end, their breathing takes on a certain quality, the stare reflex sets in, they are thoroughly zoned in on a drug. And when you think that the average American watches 6.5 hours of television a day, imagine if a drug had been introduced in 1948 that we all spent 6.5 hours on. The one thing about drugs in their defense is that it's harder to diddle the message. A drug is a mirror, but television isn't a mirror. Television is a billboard, and anyone who pays their money can put their message into the trip. This is an extraordinarily insidious situation. Arguably, it's worse now, where media is reactive to you and you can get caught in algorithm echo chambers. So just be careful of this stuff. I don't think it's as benign as we think it is, and we all instinctively feel that, but we never really do anything to actively block it. On that note, for God's sake, disable notifications on your phone. That's the quickest way to tank your productivity and introduce distraction. Okay, almost there. We've covered the external and the internal clear out, and the final thing is your task management system. So I've got a full productivity series on that here, so I'll just give you the cliff notes, but the main thing is get a process or a system that works for you, My preference is tick tick. What you can do is take that brain dump that you did and allocate the tasks into your tick tick and start creating time boxes so that you know exactly what you're doing at what time and you can bash through it. The point here is maximizing your bandwidth so that your brain isn't holding this stuff and it's all in the system so that you can fully engage with the task that you're doing. Remember, you need to be at peace with everything that you're not doing because you know that it's in the system. One essential part of that is a capture process. So if you're in the middle of something and a task comes into your inbox, you can quickly press Command-Shift-O, type it into the box, and then it's in your system. You've got it sorted. As well as a task management system, you need an external brain for stuff that has a longer half-life or reference material. And I actually now use Apple Notes, and you can see why here. And that's it for software. So we've covered your hardware, burning a clean flame. It's an ongoing project, but you can start that now. Also have a look at our Ultimate Fitness Guide on the website. We've then covered updating your firmware, so find a tool that resonates with you and start doing it. Again, a long-term project, but recommendations in the description below. And then we have the software, which is your physical and your digital clear out, the brain dump, the information diet, sorting out your task management system, and your external brain. Schedule it out, put it into your tick tick, get it out of your brain, use the habits function, and there you go, you are sorted. So a lot of this stuff is laid out for free in our members area, all of the specifics, because I know we've covered a lot. And I've got some further reading for you too, which I'm going to put here with my farty chair. And yeah, click the link in the description below to get started. As I say, don't just get to the end of this video and think, oh, that was really interesting. Do the stuff, pause the video, go back, take some notes and actually go through it and let me know how it's affected you in the comments below. All right, speak soon.